Whatever stage you're at with your trading, it's important to stop and gain perspective before planning your next move. Take a break from the charts and join in the discussion with our hosts, Jason Graystone and Akil Stokes, as they share insights, opinions and expertise on all things trading. Grab a coffee, pull up a chair and join the Trader Coffee Break.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Trader Coffee Break. I'm Akil Stokes.
You're Akil Stokes. I'm Akil Stokes. You're Jason Graystone.
You were supposed to say, I'm Jason Graystone.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's been a while. We've been away from this for too long. Darn work.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought I'd just make sure you're all awake there anyway. But look, it's been a couple of weeks. We had an event last week and the week before I was traveling. So we won't, we try not to let that happen too often. But we had an amazing trading event last week, right, Akil?
Man, it was
the best one.
We were talking and we kind of felt bad about saying this and fear of kind of offending anyone else that came to a previous event. But this was the most educated group of traders we've ever worked with. It was just we were able to talk about so many cool things just because we didn't have to deal with the nonsense that sometimes comes with doing these live events and the ask holes and all that fun stuff. So I'm very excited about how it went.
Yeah, I was too. Really engaged, really switched on group of people, and it was just a fantastic event. So if you're watching this with us right now, the recordings are still available for a couple more days, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, I would say this, the 22nd.
22nd.
Just it's about, I think, 13 hours worth of content. So don't wait until the very last minute. You're going to want to plan it out days in advance and just make sure you kind of, hey, I'm going to do 2 hours here, 2 hours there, and don't try to consume all 13 hours straight. It's going to go one through one ear and out the other.
Absolutely. Yeah. You want to get in there and make the most of that. And look, if you're one of the people listening to this show, you can just go on and screen record it or whatever. Just get it, take it. It's yours because it's yours to do what you want with. And that's really what we wanted to give it out for in the first place. So, look, that rolls into the conversation topic for this week quite well because we've grabbed a coffee. We're going to have a little bit of a rant. There's some crazy stuff going on with COVID and all the rest of it. And we've just been talking backstage here as well. But that kind of what we just said about the event and the type of people at that event, what we got was a comment about how your personality changes as a trader. And I didn't want to kind of, at first I thought, well, your personality doesn't really change as a person. Like you still like the same things, you still laugh at the same jokes, you still like the same music. That kind of thing doesn't change. But actually there are some real important shifts that you need to make in terms of opening your eyes to certain approaches, certain mindset shifts. So I thought it'd be valuable to share them. One, kind of how we've changed as people being a trader, and some of the things that will help you as a trader if you want to become serious, if you want to be serious about trading. Some of the mindset adoptions that you're going to have to make in order to really make that process a lot easier for yourself. So I don't know how to kick this off. Really, I mean, I'm thinking back to when I first got into trading. When I first got into trading, I mean, I guess the first thing I can say is I immediately become quite resilient in that people had a lot of doubt in me when I told them I was going to be a trader. So I kind of developed quite a thick skin. I had one from business anyway. You have to have a thick skin in business, but when your own kind of extended family start putting thoughts into you, oh, what's he doing? Is he gambling? And that doubt starts creeping into your household. You have to really strengthen up at that point. I don't know if you had any of that, Akil, but like people doubting you in that way.
Yeah, I was exactly the same. And it's funny. I came in with, I don't know if you want to call it thick skin, but a lot of sports, a lot of getting yelled at by coaches, a lot of being cut from teams. So like the ability to take criticism and deal with critique and stuff like that. But I found it extremely hard because of the same reasons you mentioned to admit that I was a trader. And you could hear the difference in my voice where it'd be like, hey, what are you doing? And it'd be like, well, trading, like there was zero confidence, and a lot of that was because of like everyone, essentially everyone I knew was plugging my brain with these ideas. Oh, you're gambling, you won't make it, this is a trap, it's a scam. And usually we're pretty isolated as traders. There's not a lot of us that kind of go down the trading route, and then within that trading route there's not a lot of positive influences, so you're often left alone, right? When you picture a trader, you picture someone in like a dark basement by themselves, just looking at a computer, and you have nothing but time but to like let these thoughts and ideas marinate. And as the journey gets more frustrating, you start to believe in them. And I noticed something pretty cool in my journey that I started reading. It was a recommendation early on to read like Tony Robbins books. I think it was a book called Awaken the Giant Within. And I was never like a self-help, like walk on hot coals type of person. But he talked a lot about positive affirmations and changing the mindset and building confidence. And I was like, let's try this stuff. And I remember making it a goal where I'm like the next person, after I spent like, weeks in the mirror, like talking to myself and pumping myself up. I said, the next person that asks, trader. I said, the next person that asked me about trading, right, I'm going to give them a confident answer. I'm going to tell them exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm just and if they want to ask questions, I'll be happy to explain it to them. So like, what are you doing? I am a Forex trader. I trade the foreign exchange markets and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And they're like, well, what does that mean? And let me tell you. And it sounds stupid. But it worked. The more confident I was in myself, the more confidently I approached the market. And I think and I don't know all the neural stuff behind it, but I think I approached the market more like a professional, more confident, more driven, and kind of erasing those doubts that were in my head. So I think that's a starting place for a lot of people. I think a lot of people are embarrassed, ashamed.
To share, doing it. And as you say, particularly with the kind of view of trading now, because of that kind of dark side of trading, it's almost people become embarrassed to say that they're going into it, when in actual fact, there's a lot of professional traders in the same boat who are really trying to make it work, and they do. I think what you mentioned about, I remember you telling a story about when you left the house to go out, around the corner to come back in. And that's another thing, right? Because you're so used to exchanging time for money in a job, or you kind of turn up, get paid, do 8 hours, come back. We're so kind of from an evolutional standpoint that we're so used to that. It's
I didn't think I was a professional. I did not think, I was living in a duplex. So I had, just a room, and I had like 3 roommates. And so my trading office was like literally a roll away from the bed. Like my bed was right here. My desk was right here. And
so that makes it feel even less like a profession, right? Because it's
it felt like a hobby. It felt like I'd wake up, I'd be in my jammies and just like, it didn't feel like I was actually in business. And I think that I think that did wonders, or not wonders, the opposite of wonders, blundered me kind of treating my trading like a professional, like following a routine, because, I can roll out of bed 2 minutes before and be okay. Where at the job, you got to wake up, you got to do all this stuff. So I had a period of time, again, this was in that same kind of Tony Robbins period of like just brainwashing myself, which is a real thing. You're reprogramming those pathways in your brain of, I'd wake up, I'd throw on like a shirt and tie. I'd go outside, I'd drive the car around the block a few times, I'd park, and I'd enter back in my room. I'd put my little I had a little, what's it called? The
satchel?
A satchel, the man purse, the merce.
Yeah.
Throw my little satchel on the floor, and I'd get ready and start my trading day. And it didn't last for too long. And at the time, I'm like, this is stupid, but it did get me in the right mindset. Like when it was that kind of that interrupt of me leaving regular life, and boom, I'm entering professional.
It's a separation, isn't it? Yes, it's a separation where there's a murky line. I mean, to this day, when I'm working, I have my office door shut. That's it. Sometimes I have a sign on my door to say like, "Do not disturb," because there's certain times when I'm in a zone and I don't want people to come in. And it really is difficult. I mean, that is a challenge working from home.
I guess you even have different setups for when you do your analysis on one setup, your live room on another setup. Like those little breaks are important. Definitely.
Yeah, I don't want to be doing my trading on the same computer that I'll record a podcast, or I really try and separate it all so it's clear in my head that that's there, and that's just how I work. So I guess that comes down to another personality shift is being more structured and organized, overly organized. Because if you don't have the discipline to organize your day when you're basically got free reign to do whatever you like, you almost need to be more disciplined to organize your time when you've got more time. It sounds crazy, but you do have to do that. Otherwise, you will just spiral out of control. Like, it's so easy to sit on the sofa for days, and then a day becomes, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. I deserve a day off. And then it's, I'll have a week off. And then it's so easy to start doing that stuff. And I can see how many people slip into that, and then they start doubting themselves. So I can see that as well. One big one for me is being more open-minded as well. I think you really have to be open-minded. When I first started trading, I thought you had to trade one system and you could buy this kind of thing and it would work and it's a strategy, and you just, that's ridiculous. I've met so many professionals now, and I've never met one that hasn't developed their own system and incorporated lots of different pieces into it. Like, if you're fixated on one thing and you're not open-minded and you're not open to, ideas and methodologies, you're going to be really stuck, if you've got that tunnel vision. And we see a lot of traders like that, right? It's like, there's got to be that, there's got to be. It's just so common.
I'll say that now here's the tough part, because I would say, and I agree with you needing to be open-minded, but it's this weird type of shift that happens in trading and I guess in entrepreneurship in general, but you also have to be closed-minded at the same time. Like, because what we talked about earlier, you have to be in a position, especially in trading, where you're focused, but also where you're ignoring the junk out there.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, like when I first started trading and, you got social media and I was on social media because, you're just lonely as a trader. There's no one else to talk to. So, you do a Twitter search for like, hey, Forex traders or traders, and stuff comes up. And maybe you share an idea, you share a chart of your specific strategy and your specific way of trading. And the first thing that happens is like you get a million other people that trade a million different ways, and they start commenting on you. And it's like, oh, you shouldn't do this, or I'm thinking that. And it's very easy, if you're too open-minded, I guess, to take what they're saying and be like, oh no, well, I guess I must be wrong because 3 people said they this way and this person said that. So it's weird because you got to be open-minded as far as your development and your willingness to kind of fit things around the way and adapt. And just be open to education. I know we're both in that sense where we're always listening to people, and even many of the members on our platform, and we're like, well, that's interesting. Let me kind of look into that, and we're growing. But as that new trader, I think in a sense, you got to be closed-minded as well in ignoring the mess, but being open-minded to the good stuff. And I think I guess that goes back to what we talked about in the previous episode about just community, surrounding yourself with the right people.
That's it. I was going to say that. I was going to say kind of that closed-minded bit comes in when you've gone about your education the right way. I think that's it. When you understand what not to look for, that's where you're going to be able to put the blinkers on and just focus. So absolutely. I think another personality traits. I mean, I think long-term, much longer term, I'm much more process focused than I am result focused. And I know that if I just focus on a process, the result will come. I'm actually going through a body transformation right now, and I'm in a calorie deficit, and I'm training, and it's, 5, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, you start seeing results. And then I no doubt another 8 weeks time, I'll look different again. And it's not like I'm massively doing anything mad. It's just, if I focus on that process, I just know the results will come. And that's very much how you have to be in trading. You can't focus on the monetary gain or the amount in your account, or you really have to focus on percentage, your, positive, a positive equity curve, not losing, not taking massive drawdowns, but just trading a consistent plan and trusting that process. So I'd say Yeah, long-term thinking is even though you're not an investor, you're a trader, is still the ability to think longer term in terms of results and where you want to be is crucial, because trading is so volatile and fast-paced.
Yeah, small deliberate changes, and again, you don't see them until months in advance. And whether it's and anything anything in life, it always reminds you of. And I know you've done a few rants on this, but like the power of 1% change. And I always like walking people through the visual of like if you stand somewhere, do it right now, right? Stand somewhere in your house, and then just like if you're back against the wall and look forward. And if you were to keep walking forward 5 steps, you'd be at this point. Now shift by 1% to the right, walk 5 steps, you're almost in the same point, but you're slightly different. Now, if you think about doing that same thing over 10 steps, 100 steps, 500 steps, and then put it into a time type of base where it's like months and years, right? All of a sudden, that initial 1% change, right, where you start off on a path like this, all of a sudden you're in a completely different location. And it's the same thing with trading. It's the same thing with business, same thing with lifestyle. That small change that small action, that small change you make today, which isn't really doing much, well, that's the same thing that's going to put you in a completely different space, years from now. And you got to think about big picture. Is the 1 month struggle, the 1 year struggle, is it worth 10 years of glory and whatnot and pleasure? And it is. You don't. I think the hard part is people. You don't understand it until you do it. That's the. I don't know about you. When I first started trading, I struggled for 2 years, and I was like, these are the longest 2 years ever. And I look back now, and it's been like, I think 13 years I've been trading. I'm like, okay, well, did I actually struggle? I'm like, well, I guess it was 2 years, but in comparison to the last 13, they're like, it's nothing. And it's hard. So we can tell it to you because we've gone through it, and we're still going through it, but you got to trust it.
You do have to trust it. And just to reinforce that point, it's like taking off on a ship from Southampton to New York and being 1 degree out. You're gonna end up in Mexico, like Mexico. Like literally, it's like that. There's a great book on that called Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, and I recommend you guys pick that book up. It's incredible, really, really good book on that. And as Akil said, it's all about small incremental progress, and it works both ways. You can do small incremental bad habits over time, and you'll end up in Mexico instead of New York. It works both ways. So yeah, absolutely. So the ability to be process driven, I think, is key.
I would say this too, back to your point about like does one trade make a difference? Like if one losing trade or one winning trade, I guess you can have a really, really big winner, a really, really big loser, but like bigger picture, does it really make like a difference? Like we assign so much power to like, oh, I lost.
Yeah.
Like if your risk management is fine, like it shouldn't really hurt you. It's like, but
no, I think it does make a difference if you're forming bad habits.
Yes.
So if it's like, oh, it's only that, well, at what point are you going to stop doing that mistake? Yeah. And then before you know it, it's like you're making mistakes all the time. You've developed that, like I am at driving. I've got so many bad habits at driving, and that is like years and years of like cutting corners and doing stupid things, and that's why I don't drive anymore.
There you go.
but that's the same thing. Like you can develop bad habits, which is why it's so important to have a plan, and you stick to the plan. A tested plan, so that there's no, you're making decisions based on feelings, making decisions based on chemicals in your body, emotions. And if you don't have something telling you how to be objective every day, then you're essentially opening yourself up for bad habits to be introduced into your trading, because you'll do it once and it'll be like, I did it last week, it didn't really matter. And you won't see it because it's only a couple of bad trades, but over time, that's going to have a massive impact on your overall performance. So, what else? I'm trying to think of any other personality. I guess I've become a bit more. I can understand people better. I've been really because I'm looking at the markets and I'm trying to figure out how other traders are thinking constantly, and looking at what I think will happen in the market based on, human reactions. And it makes me more understanding as to how people think in certain situations. I think I've become more attuned to that.
I can tell you one that I've noticed. Well, two, one, and I think this is a combination of trading and being a business owner. I don't have a lot of empathy anyway, so that's always tough. No. But like, I've become more ruthless. Yeah. And I think anytime you are in I guess any type of job setting where maybe you're a boss or something like that, but in trading specifically, I've become a lot more ruthless with just kind of like being unemotional. Like, this is what it is. This is what it isn't. But a good one is, I noticed that because of trading, I now look at everything in life in terms of risk reward. And I found that to be very interesting, where I'll look at my kids growing up and he'll climb something and I'll be like, okay, well, the risk is he falls off and bumps his arm. The reward is he gains confidence in a new skill. Okay, let's do it. Maybe he climbs too high. Okay, now the risk is he breaks his neck. Hey, come on, let's get that. Like, everything, how fast I'm going, whether I'm going to run that yellow light, everything is risk reward and kind of opportunity cost. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if you. No,
I definitely. I think becoming a master of risk, of calculated risk, I think that is a great thing to have, and that's definitely something I've benefited from too. And the way I look at it,
people ask what I do. I'm a risk manager. I assess risk in all areas.
People take calculated risks every day. I mean, if you're taking your car to some convention to do some self-development and learn, you've got in your car knowing that like 1 in 9 car crashes die. Mm-hmm. So you've made a calculated decision that it's worth that risk to go and grow and develop. And I always think about it this way now. I think, like, we always imagine if you knew every day what your life was going to be like and what conversations you were going to have and how you went to bed and what you're going to have for dinner and who, it would be so boring. Like, your life, there'd be no point living. And I think it's only because we don't know what's going to happen for definite that makes life so exciting and interesting. So understanding how to calculate risks and navigate through that to make the most of life is one of the best skills that you can develop. And I think trading really helps with that.
Yeah, and that goes back to, again, probably something that all traders have heard when they first get into trading. Someone has told them, isn't that risky? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Right. You've read all the disclaimers. Yes. Like, do not trade with money you aren't willing to lose. It is risky. You can lose anything. There can be a black swan event. And I've traded through all those. Who knows? But if you can calculate it, if you can manage it, you can balance it out. Here's one that we get a lot about the fear of weekend gaps in the market. And it's funny, like, people fear these weekend gaps. What if I get gapped out by 1 million pips? But if you actually look back at the numbers and how often do in the Forex market specifically, how often do big gaps happen over the weekend? Not too often. Then you got to calculate how many happen on pairs that you would actually be trading, how many happen in pairs that you were trading in trades that you would actually be involved in, and then how many happen that actually go against you instead of in your favor. And when you have all the numbers and you look at it, you realize like there's really not. Yeah, it's a tsunami can happen and wipe everything else. Yes, what was it? When the Swiss pulled the financial floor underneath everyone. We dropped to 1 million pips in like 10 seconds. That can happen. But the percentages are so low. Again, it's like, maybe aside from you who have some issues with driving, apparently, you hop in your car, you're probably not going to crash and die. The risk is there, but 9 times out of 10, again, unless you're Jason Graystone, you're gonna make it back safe without damaging anything.
All right, mate. All right. I'm not saying I'm a bad driver. I just gave up driving because I didn't like it. That was all.
It is a hassle.
Yeah, no, it is. That's very true. And for those of you guys who are new to trading, don't know what we're talking about, if you go back to January the 15th, 2015, you'll see on a Swiss pair, you'll see what happened. It was crazy. Yeah, any Swiss pair.
Even that, like, you should have, like, I don't know, you should have, I roll my eyes, like, you should have known something was up when they were blatantly coming out and saying, yeah, we're not going to let Euro Swiss drop below $1.20. We're just not going to let it happen. Like, at some point, like, when there's that much in your face kind of corruption, it's like, maybe this is shoot, maybe this money over here by this dark, shady alley, maybe I shouldn't just grab it and just kind of walk by. But
there's another a trait that you develop, and that's kind of reading things better. You know, not assessing risk, but kind of being a little bit more skeptical over things, assessing things, analyzing things. You become more objective, I would say. So it's not like you kind of, it's ones and zeros you're working with, and it's like, well, it's logic. You develop a logical mind, and you grow your logical mind. So
I got another good story for you. My wife the other day, she brought to me, she got approached by, I think it was some like Bitcoin person. And they were like, she was talking to her, and she was like, yeah, like, you know, how it works is, you know, you give me $100 and then I give you $1,000 back in a few seconds, and like we all make money and blah, 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 blah. And I'm sure, I mean, I don't deal with this stuff because I ignore all types of stuff like that, but I'm sure people deal with this on a regular basis, getting messages and whatnot. And my wife
wasn't a Jason Graystone Instagram account, was it?
Yeah, but the J was backwards. There was like a money sign instead of S. But like for just being able to read the situation, she's like, well, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right. Like this sounds off.
Yeah.
And then she knows enough. Like, well, and then she dropped the bomb. Well, you know, my husband's, she's real confident. You know, my husband's a trader. And then the person was like, started getting scared and whatnot. But yeah, just the ability to kind of, that safety. I mean, that's a general skill, not to get too far off the topic, but if you understand money and understand finances and understand the financial markets, know how to read people, you can avoid a lot of those traps where I know if anyone ever came up to you and be like, hey, give me $100, I'll give you $1,000 back. You're running as fast as you can in the opposite direction, because it's just like, that's not realistic. But you can read situations like that. I think that was definitely, she was so proud of herself. I was happy for her. I'm like, you are listening to the stuff I say all the time.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Look, I think I could think of tons. I think off of the back of that one, I would just say one last one, and that is kind of the ability to neutralize your emotions by seeing the good and bad equally, like immediately. And the quicker you can do that, the better. It's like, and I know it kind of stems off the back of the process-driven kind of thing, but it's about seeing the benefits of a trade going against you, and seeing the positives in a trade going against you, and seeing the drawbacks of a winning trade. Like even when you're on a winning streak, you can get cocky. When you're on a losing streak, you can get depressed. You know, and it's I think a real good goal to have is to be able to see the good and bad in every situation as quickly as possible. And the quicker you can do it, the more masterful you'll become, the more poised you'll become, and you just get onto the next one. You lose a trade, well, onto the next one. It's one closer to a winner. And I've go on.
Well, sorry, I was saying that goes for real life as well. Just understanding people and saying like, hey, you know, this person's angry, but I don't know the full situation. Maybe their wife left them. They stubbed their toe or having a bad day. Don't necessarily just place judgment on one side off of one specific kind of picture that you have. There's a full story. And I think that, you know, if we as human beings, right, if we took the chance to kind of understand people and understand the full range of people are going through on a regular basis, we'd probably be a lot nicer to each other. But is that, you know, that's a topic for another time.
Humans overall are a little bit dense, let's face it. We're a little bit behind.
You can tell them exactly what needs to be done and they still won't be. Going back to our conversation pre-show about
go and check that one out if you haven't already. All right, well, look, hopefully you've got some kind of ideas, and maybe you've got some encouragement, maybe you've got some confidence after thinking, I don't know if this is just me. Everyone's going through these continuous personality changes and shifts and developments. If you're growing, chances are you're going to have to get outside your comfort zone, or make a shift, or become someone new. A bit like a butterfly and a caterpillar, you have to evolve some way. And there's certain expressions you have to do through your personality and through your person. So that's another restriction. You know, don't hold yourself back. Don't tell yourself, I can't, you know, I have to be me. You know, you've got to grow sometimes. And if you don't, then maybe trading isn't for you. Do something else. But it definitely forces you to grow. So that's it for another week. We'll be back again next week. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like the video, and definitely hit the notification bell so you get notified when we go live again. And leave us a comment to let us know on how your personality's changed and what people have seen in you, or comments they've made about you, so we can all discuss them, so we don't all feel alienated, and we can all get together and discuss that in the comments below. So until next week, guys, have a great rest of your day and weekend, and we'll see you then.
Thanks for joining us for the Trader Coffee Break. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to never miss a live discussion. Follow our hosts on social media, and remember, do nothing to gain perspective on everything. See you next week.